I'm Crystal Lancaster. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to make a shoe bag. It's just a simple bag with a casing and a drawstring. I'm going to use a 17 by 24 inch piece of fabric and a 28-inch piece of ribbon. And then the supplies you'll need is just basic sewing supplies, a mat, a ruler and a cutter, sewing machine, thread to match, and of course your iron and ironing board. I'll also use a bobbin, or if you don't have that, a safety pin works just as well for threading the ribbon through. Okay, I'm going to cut this out. It's a 17 by 24 inch piece of fabric. Since my cutting mat is not big enough to cut 24 inches, I'm going to fold this fabric in half to make it 12 inches this way. I'm lining the folded edge up with the 0 mark along here. And then I'm lining my ruler up with the 12-inch line. Now I'm going to turn my mat and square up the bottom edge on the 0 line. Slide it over to 17. And fold it, and here is my 24 by 17 inch piece. The next step is going to be to iron the casing, which is going to be turned 3/8 of an inch and then 5/8 of an inch. Now if you feel comfortable to just iron this by eyeballing it, you can. But if not, you can mark the edge. I'm going to mark it by doubling what I want it to be finished, which is 3/8 doubled is 3/4 of an inch. I'm using a chalk wheel to mark this. Now I'm going to mark the second line 7/8 of an inch from my first marking line. Now I'm going to go to the ironing board. Okay, so now I have my marking lines, and I'm going to turn this edge to the first one and press it down. And then turn again. Now I'll be back at the sewing machine. Now I'm going to zigzag this edge before I sew it because I want to leave an opening for the casing. Remember when you zigzag that the zig is on and the zag is off. At the corner, I'll slow down and leave my needle down to pivot, lift up the presser foot and turn the fabric and back up the next side. Now I'm going to pin it together. I'll fold this together, right sides together. Line up the edges that I just zigzagged. I'll start with pinning a pin on either side of my 2 marked lines, and I'm going to want to leave that open for the casing hole. I'm going to mark a line right down the middle just to remember to not sew that closed. I will also mark this corner so that I'll know right where to pivot. I'm going to mark a 3/8 inch line from that edge and 3/8 from the other edge. Now I'm just pinning these edges together. The next thing that I'm going to do is sew the bag together along here, pivot at the corner and across the bottom. I'm sewing with a 3/8 inch seam, back stitching at the end. I'll pull my pins out just as I come to them and slow down as I come to the corner. I want my needle to go right in the center of my X that I marked. Pivot and sew up the other side. Now I've reached my marking for my first casing line, and that's where I want to stop to leave an opening. I have this line here marked to help me remember to not sew my casing closed. I'll do a good back stitch here. That's going to secure where the drawstring is coming out. I'll just skip over to the next line. Again, back stitch well. And sew to the end. Now I'm going to open this seam up and just press it with my fingers. See the little opening? Now I'm going to refold my casing back along those lines, the fold lines. Starting at matching the seams, pin the casing. Now I'm going to stitch the casing down. I'm going to stitch right along this folded edge. Starting at the seam. And pulling the pins out as I come to them. Here I'm coming up on the end. I'll overlap a few stitches and back up 2, and I'm done. Take it from the machine, carefully trim the threads. Now I'll go to the ironing board, turn it right side out, and put the ribbon through. Now I'm going to turn it right side out. I will lightly press the whole thing. When you press a seam like this, you always want to try to roll the seam all the way to the edge so that you don't have any little tucks along your seam. Now it's ready to thread the ribbon through the casing. I'm going to use this neat little tool. It's called a bodkin, and you can it grabs the ribbon. I'll slide the ring down so that it holds it. A safety pin works just as fine too. Now I'm going to slide the ribbon through the hole here. So I'll pull it out and then knot these ends together. And trim it at an angle so that the ribbon won't fray. Here's the finished shoe bag, ready for you to slide your shoes in. Pack them in your suitcase. If you'd like, you can make this same bag any size. I made this one 1 yard by 45 inch, just the width of the fabric, and it's a laundry bag. And just remember, as you sew, that every one of these straight lines is one line closer to your goal of being able to sew anything.